Okay, so as you can see, the mains are now done, and we followed the markings that I put using blue tack around the edge of the racket to ensure that the main strings were going to go in the right grommet holes. So now what we've got is we've got the end of the short side string, which is just here, and we've got about 60 centimeters of string there, and then on the other side we've got a much longer piece of string because it's the long side, and this is what's going to string the cross strings from the bottom here up to the top where it's going to be tied off. So I haven't tied off yet the short side string, because what I tend to do at this stage is I tend to do the first cross string before I tie off the short side. So I'm just going to put the camera back onto the tripod and we'll commence with the cross strings. Okay, so I'm going to take the long side string, and again using the markings that I've made on the side of the racket, I can see that this is the first, this is the first cross string, and what I use on stringing cross strings is a snub-nosed pliers. Now what's important with these is that there's no sharp edges to them that's going to nick the string. So that's what I tend to use, and it doesn't really matter whether you start by going under the first string or over the first string. I tend to go over. And what I do is that when the string pops through here on the right side, I grab hold of it with the snub pliers and I give it a pull to arm's length, and then I'll use a combination of pulling through with my right hand, but with my left hand I'm holding the long side of the string just to make sure that it doesn't catch on anything as it comes through. So now you can see that we've got our first cross string in place. Now before I tension that or tie it off, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to tie off the short side, and I basically need to look at where's the most appropriate place to feed this through. Now I might have to feed it through a hole that's already got a string in it, so in that case I use the snippers to create an angled cut on the string, like so, so that the end of the string is actually quite sharp. And sometimes you need that in order to get the string to go through a hole with an existing string in it. Now it looks to me like the tie-off string is going to be the one that I've just done, this first string here. So before I can tie off the short side, what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to tighten that first cross string. So I put it into the clamp. I don't over tighten it because it's actually a very short string in terms of its its span across the racket face, so I don't want to over tighten that. Now so what I need to do at this point is tie off the short side string, and it's actually going to go through the same hole as the first cross string, and this is quite an important part of the video, because this shows you how to tie a Parnell knot named after Richard Parnell. And I'm going to need to bring the camera in close to show you this one, because it's actually a very important part of the whole process, is the tying off of knots. So I'll just pause for a moment. Okay, so you bring the short end remaining string, there's my short end, you bring it through an appropriate hole, in this case the first cross string, but you just basically need to look along the edge of the racket and see whether there's a hole that's big enough to feed this through. And then there's a particular way in which you tie this off. You can see, if I just show you where it is on the racket, so the string is coming through, as we look at it, on the left of the cross string. So I'm going to take the end of the short side string and I'm going to feed it over the right hand side of that cross string, like so, except it keeps on flicking out. Let's try it again. Okay, so what you do then is that you pull the end of the string, like so, and you want to feed the loose end of the string back up through the loop, like this. Okay, now that's a single Parnell knot, but I tend to do a double one, and the way you do a double one is that you feed, bring that into a fairly small knot, and then you don't go through the loop on the downward. I go back down the right hand side, but not through the loop, just past the loop, down again, and this time I come up through the loop again. Okay, now what I've got